On September 6, 2018, the White House released a presidential action regarding NA titled President Donald J. Trump announces appointments for the executive office of the president. That presidential action said, William J. McKinley will serve as assistant to the president and cabinet secretary. Mr. McKinley previously served as deputy assistant to the president and cabinet secretary. Brooke L. Rollins will serve as assistant to the president for strategic initiatives. Andrew J. Almeen will serve as deputy assistant to the president for economic policy and deputy director of the National Economic Council. Mr. Almeen previously served as special assistant to the president for economic policy. Cletus R. Willems III will serve as deputy assistant to the president for international economic affairs and deputy director of the National Economic Council. Mr. Willems previously served as special assistant to the president for National Security Council. Avram J. Berkowitz will serve as deputy assistant to the president and advisor to the senior advisor. Mr. Berkowitz previously served as special assistant to the president and assistant to the senior advisor. Admiral Keith B. Davids will serve as deputy assistant to the president and director of White House Military Office. Admiral Davids previously served as special assistant to the president and deputy director of White House Military Office. Ross P. Worthington will serve as deputy assistant to the president and advisor for policy, strategy and speech writing. Mr. Worthington previously served as special assistant to the president and advisor for policy, strategy and speech writing. Joseph R. Clark will serve as special assistant to the president and associate counsel to the president. Mr. Clark previously served as associate counsel to the president. William F. Crozer will serve as special assistant to the president and deputy director of intergovernmental affairs. Judson P. Deere will serve as special assistant to the president and director of media affairs. Mr. Deere previously served as director of state communications. Cassidy M. Dimbald will serve as special assistant to the president and special assistant to the senior advisor. Ms. Dimbald previously served as project manager. Zoel Jackman will serve as special assistant to the president and director of student leadership initiatives and volunteer engagement. Ms. Jackman previously served as director of student leadership initiatives and volunteer engagement. William R. Levi will serve as special assistant to the president for domestic policy. Nicholas F. Luna will serve as special assistant to the president for operations and trip director. Mr. Luna previously served as trip director. Emily R. Mallon will serve as special assistant to the president and director of the office of the chief of staff. Ms. Mallon previously served as special assistant to the chief of staff. Stephen J. Menashe will serve as special assistant to the president and associate counsel to the president. Benjamin T. Miller will serve as special assistant to the president and deputy director of advance. Mr. Miller previously served as trip director. Ashley D. Mokarski will serve as special assistant to the president and senior director of cabinet affairs. Ms. Mokarski previously served as senior director of cabinet affairs. Hunter M. Morgan will serve as special assistant to the president and policy specialist for the office of the senior advisor for policy. Mr. Morgan previously served as policy specialist for the office of the senior advisor for policy. Nicholas D. Potbaum will serve as special assistant to the president and deputy director of intergovernmental affairs. Mr. Potbaum previously served as associate director of intergovernmental affairs. Alexandra E. Stone will serve as special assistant to the president and director of the White House Management Office. Ms. Stone previously served as deputy director of finance and travel lead. Rebecca L. Wasserstein will serve as special assistant to the president and director of White House Travel Office. Ms. Wasserstein previously served as director of White House Travel Office.